title of this is called Think Like a Founder. And founders are people that go back in time, that want to build something or create something or do something that will make the world a better place. We're not talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about a special group of people that can't help what they do, like a painter or a musician. You've heard a lot of them today, people that are compelled to do something. And our audience is the workforce. And the workforce is part of making the world a better place. So we thought, how could we help the workforce today? How can we develop a leadership curriculum or something that will help folks that are desperate for ethics and values, doing something that's meaningful, saving the planet? So we wanted to we've been fortunate enough to work with some crazy, beautiful people. Oh, thank you. Crazy, beautiful people over the last 25 years to take some of the characteristics that are so inspirational and how can we help spread that to other people. So, what do you do? Okay, so the first thing is, so who are you, what do you do, and why does it matter? We've taken all the information, the data, the connections to ethics and values and academic, and tried to put them into three main buckets. The first one is knowing who you are as a person. What is your purpose and why are you around? And what are you supposed to do? The doing is your behavior, right? Because it's one thing to have intent, it's another thing to actually do something, and that's what you're judged on or valued on, or that's really how you make a contribution. And then the third is, why does it matter? How is it influencing? And it certainly makes life more interesting to think that you're doing something like the people that we get to listen to here that's having an influence on the world. So let's start with who are you? Now, founders or artists, they feel so strongly about what they're doing. They don't think about, their career, or they're not looking at a checklist on how they're going to do it. They're just compelled. They have resilience. Now, resilience is something we've heard a lot about today, people having it. So how can we take resilience, define it for folks, and help them? Next slide. Help them have resilience. So think about in your life, because we're all here to do something significant. Think about in your life what you did that exhibits some of these behaviors. Something you did that you're proud of, where you faced a challenge and you overcame it. You took a challenge and you turned it into something, not necessarily positive, but constructive, that you didn't hide from it, you didn't go victim. That's the first thing. The other thing is growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Now, this is very, everyone's talking about it, and this is age-free. You can be early in your career, middle of your career, or more in the best part of your career, where having a growth mindset, meaning that you're looking forward or asking why versus fixed. So prejudice and status quo and wanting things to stay the same is age-free. And the fact that it's a girl that has a growth mindset in this picture and it's a boy who has fixed has nothing to do with my fixed mindset that girls are smarter than boys. Not at all. Okay. So then what do you do? How do you take this behavior? How do you take this resilience? How do you take the fact that you, like founders, you want to grow? Because the other thing about founders, and these are the good ones, they always want to learn. A growth mindset is always being a student. So you don't stay stuck in something, you can ask why. So behavior is killer. And to raise your hand and say why about status quo is something we've put a lot of work into to help people. This is not to walk out or necessarily have a rebellion, unless you should, but to be able to question, and again, whether you're early, middle, or late in your career, to question why something exists the way it is. And also, if you're later in your career, you fought for status quo, because status quo is the way something is. You fought for that. But everything has to change. A great example is, many of you must know this, we went from offices Everyone had an office. To open space, you know how open space is really cool? Like offices now have open space. Well, do you know all the little ones, early in a career, they can't stand it. They want phone booths. They're going back. So it doesn't really matter what you want or where you are in a point. Sometimes being able to ask or the fact that change is going to happen is part of life. How can you set it up that every single person won't be victim to what they're going through, but will be able to contribute to the community? So because growth mindset plus resilience allows people to get together to make some sort of change. And this is culture change. If it's in your family, if it's in your community, if it's on your team, if it's in your workplace, no matter where it is, this is something that people are dehydrated for, screaming for, wanting to be. So we want to work on that. This is my favorite slide. A really famous consultant came up with it because it's so complex and intricate. It shows you why change is difficult. Isn't it beautiful? Can you imagine how long it took to put this together? I just love it because most of the time we spend in the middle. So how can you help folks that are going through? I was talking to a mucky muck at one of the famous banks that was under a reign of tyranny for a while and was able to stick it out by doing the right thing, staying ethical, and sure enough, the reign changed and the right people are in the right place. They all did the right thing. They fought it, but they did it in a good way. Anyway, change is messy, and there's three things that help you change. You're pulled, you have pain, or you're pushed. So pulled is in a direction that's positive. Think about when you changed something because it moved you in a place that you want it to be, even if you didn't in the beginning. Push, someone does something that you're helpless, like when 9/11 happened, our office in San Francisco became a community place where people in the neighborhood came because for some reason we stayed up and connected. And a lot of people had parents and relatives. And we were pushed in a really positive way, but we had to change, stop our business, and open up for that. So push, pull, and pain. Those three things make it messy. Some people will also say that what's in the middle is a different line than how you start and how you end. No, it's the same line. It's the same line. But that ambiguity and being in the middle is okay. Then we go to the next thing. The most important is, why does it matter? Socrates said that we don't really know if there's anything else, but wouldn't it be more interesting if there was? He thought religious people were idiots, and he thought atheists were idiots because it's people who only know. The most ethical thing is to be good to yourself and to be good to each other. And everything that you do, you have some control. You have some control, and you can learn behaviors because it matters what you do. And this quote, this wonderful little company called WikiHow, I mean, when you think about it, innovation, creativity, all the wonderful things, it is age-free, culture-free, gender-free, everything free. And I know there are classes that you can take to learn how to be more inclusive. One of the things that we believe is this has to be part of everything. It's a way of life. It's not a class that you can have a check off. Now you know how to do this. It's something that has to be incorporated into everything. Okay? So that's collective intelligence. Collective intelligence is something that we're all going for. The world and the workplace is going for more collaboration, for more caring, for more open, for more ethics. How can we do that? And we learn from our nature friends. We learn from the fish. We learn from the birds. This is how they travel together to not get into trouble. And my favorite one, now it's not that we all want to be geese, but I love this story. So geese fly in formation, and if the head goose gets upset or gets hurt, they squawk and they move back and somebody else goes up in front. If a goose gets hurt and falls down, two geese automatically go down to help it. After they fix or make sure the person's okay or the goose is okay, then they can get up and they can find the formation they were with, or they find a new formation. So a lot of this collective intelligence that especially the newer workforce is looking for, needs, that the world needs, we're following some of the examples that our nature friends are giving us. And it ties into the workplace and high-functioning teams. Now, these people on this boat, they are not geese, they're actually people, but they're operating in a very similar way. So a curriculum that might be able to make the world a better place by these 3 things as the thesis, to help people be resilient, to stand up to challenge and have a voice with a growth mindset, to challenge the status quo and influence culture and believe in and lead, like the geese, collective intelligence. And by the way, the best example of all of this is Anne. 5 years collecting collective intelligence, such a great example of the most amazing people here to inspire, to share, to teach, and to learn from each other. Thank you very much.